Are you tired of being overcharged and forced into paying a monthly subscription for your Mac and Windows software? Well, if you are, currently we're having a 50% off discount on all the latest Mac and Windows software, such as AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Photoshop, Microsoft Office, and much more. Our 50% off discount will be ending soon.
So be sure to text Ready to Buy, that's Ready to Buy, to the number on the screen. Starting pricing for low-end software, $100. And starting pricing for high-end software, $500.
We aim to please, so expect 24/7 technical support, the latest premium software, instant software links delivered to your email, and PayPal's buyer's protection guarantee.
If you're just joining us, we're here with famed A&R Dante Ross. Make sure you click the like button and all that type of good shit. If you're just joining us, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell, and click all. Now, my man Eprock, who was around back in the days, he's in the chat right now, and he said, talk about Kilimanjaro, hard to the
wow. Oh yeah, Tommy's in it. Tom Epp, that's your man from
yeah.
Now Room Mob.
Exactly.
Yo, that Kilimanjaro shit was amazing. That shit was amazing. That shit was amazing.
Like, so, it's online. If you get a chance, do they have the whole? I think the whole night is online.
Ralph has the whole thing. Yeah, I think the whole thing is online. So basically, Elektra has all these groups I sign, and Brand Nubians. Can I say the pinnacle? Right, you guys are. It's popping.
So who was there that night? KMD,
Leaders of the New School, P Rock, CL Smooth. Shazzy performed?
Oh, I remember that name, Shazzy. I don't think
she was the first group I signed. I don't think she performed, but I think this other group that I didn't sign performed, Tyson and Woody. Someone else signed them, and they weren't really popping. They opened. They were nice kids from Detroit, but it didn't pop. They, I think, opened and caught a bad one. And in New York City at that time, because you had done that at the New Music Seminar, basically Brand Nubians would roll with one of the biggest crews I've ever seen in the history of rap music. It was like 100 deep at all times. Now Rule Mob.
You don't get in, the X makes it to the rear.
I mean, you know,
take care of them before I take care of others. Like, that was some real shit.
The Now Rule Mob was a huge mossy of dudes. Luckily, none of them wanted to kill me. So they were all like pretty. They were cool. I knew
dudes was fighting that night.
Oh yeah, dudes was always. I mean, look, if the Now Rule Mob showed up, someone's probably getting beat up if they try and stop them. There's so many people. Because I don't remember if you remember the Irving Plaza shit when you guys walked into Irving Plaza like 100+ deep at the New Music Seminar and took that shit over. You took it over.
That was the show that actually made us infectious. Like, we had so many people in the crowd, and so our tape was already distributed in New Rochelle. Like, everybody had the demo, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, somebody taped it off of this one, and so everybody knew the words to everything that we was doing. So, like, we literally went viral inside Irving Plaza that night because all of our people were singing the words, and I literally saw people looking like, yo, how the fuck do they know this? Like, and I don't know it. Like, and this amount of people know it. So it almost made them feel like, shit, I gotta catch up. Like I must be missing out on some shit. Like, and so yeah, that Irving Plaza and then the Kilimanjaros. Like, but before that,
at Irving Plaza, I was with Ice-T, and Ice-T said to me, yo, that's gonna win. I remember Ice-T was, and he didn't know who you guys were. He just knew who Pooh Bah was, but Ice-T was just there. And you know, Ice is he's a lot of things. He's a fucking smart motherfucker. And he seen the energy, and he was like, that right there, you got one. And I was like, I already knew that, but to hear it from him was bugged out.
Yeah. So yeah, that Kilimanjaro, man, like before.
Yeah, that was like part two. Like Kilimanjaro was like, so we have this showcase, and basically it's a Brand Nubian album release party that the label like is, we're gonna make it a showcase, hard to the left. And I'm like, good luck. It's gonna be a Brand Nubian night. Like have fun. Luckily, a lot of I guess now we're mob and people who were in the building were hip to KMD. De La was up in there that night. I think Latif was there. Everyone's there, all the native tongues. And it was like just a real cultural event. You couldn't fit one more motherfucker in that place. That shit was completely mobbed up. Like, and when you guys got on, because I remember Pete and them got on, and that shit was ill because same kind of, you're from the same area. And they got a lot of love that night, leaders too. But when you guys got on, that shit was like game over. It was close. It felt like a riot could ensue at any moment. I was like, this shit could go over the top.
It
like
somehow did. Latest news from New Row was fighting some dudes from Queens and all this type of shit. And like we never been that deep in a club in the city before. Like up until that time, New Rochelle had never been. We're the first ones to bring New Rochelle to the city like that. You know what I mean? Like
it was a statement. It was a statement to say the least.
For a lot of people, it's their first time really going out like that, and they lost their minds, man.
I feel like that was like, you guys were buzzing already, and that just solidified everything. Look, when Brand Nubian, when the album came out, that shit came out of every fucking car, everywhere I went in New York City. I heard it as far away as London. Before it was out, motherfuckers in London somehow had a tape. They had a tape in Virginia Beach when I was in VA. It was like this tape traveled so fucking far. And I don't know how it traveled so far, and people would have fucked up versions of it. But that thing was everywhere. It was everywhere before it even came out.
So let's move backwards now. I've been, talking a lot about our relationship and stuff, but get into how you even started in this A&R shit. Like, how did you even break into this music shit? Not necessarily being a musician.
Right. Well, a musician is such a crazy term, right?
Right.
And I actually played drums as a kid. So
okay.
I was kind of a musician, maybe.
Well, you weren't a rapper or a singer.
Yeah.
Right.
And you got the world's lucky I never tried to be a rapper. Like
you don't have that kind of voice where it seems like you might hold tune.
We don't need another trash white rapper in the universe. We're good on that. I grew up downtown. I was friends with the Beastie Boys. We were kids who started going out to nightclubs really young, 13, 14 years old. And we were into music, punk rock, and
hanging out on the High Line before it was cool.
Doing graffiti, writing graffiti and skateboarding around and going to shows. We loved this band called the Bad Brains. They were like, black punk rock band. They were our favorite group. We loved the Clash. But punk rock got corny. We were a little late for it. We showed up in 80 or so. Punk rock had been out since 77. We caught the tail end of it, and it turned into something that we wasn't fucking with. It's like, the shit is corny. But we always listened to rap music. I think the first song we ever heard probably was Rapper's Delight, 1979. But we always liked rap music. Jimmy Spicer, Treacherous 3. These records were records we all liked. We're in high school. Blondie came out. Fearless 4. Spoonie G. All these records, Rock the Body and the Big Beat, and all these records. We liked all these records. We listened to them. Malcolm McLaren and the Supreme Team, and rap became the new thing. Hip hop. When I was really young, I went to the party that became the Roxy, Wheels of Steel. I was friends with Ramal Z from graffiti. He told me to go to a place called The Grill. I see him at a graffiti art gallery called the Fun Gallery. So I knew Fat Five Freddy, Futura 2000, Ramal Z. I knew them since I was a kid, and I was maybe 16. And he told me and Mike D, you should go to this thing at The Grill. I'm rocking it. It's tomorrow. And we went. It was a Wednesday night. And it was the first time I'd seen Treacherous 3 before. I seen Fearless 4. I seen Jimmy Spicer. I seen him do the Bubba Bunch. I seen Super Rhymes. I'd seen shit before, Grandmaster Flash, but I had never seen, because they were playing white clubs. Like, they were coming, and I used to go to Club Danceteria. They all played there. So, but it was like, I saw them live, but I didn't see the culture, if that makes sense. So I went to this party, and Islam was DJing and Jay. Bam was back in the booth. Ramal Z was on the mic. Then I want to say, I don't think it was Mel, maybe Cowboy, Ramal Z, a couple of dudes were on the mic. And I seen breakdancing in front of me, like real breaking, like Crazy Legs in them. So in one spot, I see, you know, fucking Jay and Islam and Ramal Z and these dudes rocking the mic while dudes are breaking and cutting in real time, all at one time. And I never seen nothing like it before. So I was sold. I was like, this is the new shit. We all were so powerful. It was the most powerful shit we'd ever seen. And this is, I think, I want to say 1981. And from there, I became obsessed. I'm a pretty obsessive person, whether it's skateboarding or basketball or whatever it is. I'm very obsessive. And hip hop just was so cool. It was just the coolest shit ever. I was a pretty good skater. Yeah, I was a sponsored skater. Yeah, I was pretty good. And I was decent at basketball. I never had a great handle, but I could jump. I could play. I play with X and Mo. They're both better than me. But I could play ball. I'm not terrible. I played basketball at Bobito in high school, and Pete Nice and all those guys. We all played ball. A decent athlete, and I'm just obsessive about shit. I was good at graffiti. If I want to get good at something, I get good. I get somewhat good at. I immerse myself in the culture. You're like the same way. Like if you immerse yourself, you're gonna figure it out. So I just was obsessed, man, and graffiti went hand in hand with it. And to me, it was like we were the cool kids, and this was the cool thing to do. And these other dudes got left in the dust. And a couple of years later, they might have caught up. You know, but I think it took Run DMC probably for them to catch up. And, you know, we all know that rap was, it got musical. Dudes was dressing real crazy, looking like a broke Rick James. It was kind of weird, in a weird place in like 1982. Records were good, but Run DMC comes out and it's like, bong. And they to me were, that's the lifestyle of rap for me. That's what I identified with, because I couldn't dress like Melly Mel or the Treacherous Three, but I saw Run DMC and I could dress like that.
Leather pants was not cheap, let me tell you.
I never had leather pants, but I had black leaves. I
never had no leather pants neither, but I just know, like, you see them shits in the store and you be like, damn.
Yeah, and they were fly. Pants. You know, I had the blazer. I had the blazer, and I had I had my Kango or whatever it was, and some black leaves with the crease, and the Adidas or Pumas with fat laces, and shit was just cool. Run DMC were like to me like they were the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It might, like, I don't want to say, like, because I never really liked Elvis Presley, but I seen Chuck Berry. He was fucking cool. Like I seen people who were just cool. The Bad Brains were cool. The Clash were cool. Run DMC was cool like that. They were just fucking like they were cool the way like Gregory Isaacs was cool. They were just fucking cool, like Bob Marley or some shit. So I was like, wow, this is the coolest shit I ever seen. And I think that we were probably 2 years ahead of the rest of America, me and my downtown friends, right? And then white America all becomes immersed in hip hop when Raising Hell comes out. But we were, immersed in it early, and the Beasties were a punk rock band, and they wanted to make some other shit. So they started
real quick. So do you think at the time y'all would have been considered some of the first Wiggers?
No, I don't think we were. I don't think we were Wiggers. Nah, because we never tried
Adidas and fat laces and shit like that. You dressing like Run DMC and all of that. That's very hip hop influenced. That doesn't sound.
See, to me, Wigger.
I'm talking like the King at Rock. Like, like you know what I'm saying?
I would say, to me, Wigger has a negative connotation. So I wouldn't say
I know, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I get it.
Are y'all some of the first white dudes that really were like inhaling that black culture and trying to like live it, kind of?
Living in New York, I always knew, I'm from the Lower East Side, and there was always white dudes who basically were hood, like in my neighborhood. I knew a bunch of people who, and this is before hip hop came out. I'm talking in the 70s. There's always, I mean, my pops is kind of like, and my dad's friends were all jazz musicians. He was a political activist, and he was friends with Stokely Carmichael in high school, and he knew Bobby Seale and all that.
Now that was interesting. I didn't know any of this when you were talking about.
Yeah,
this.
My pops was a really serious political activist. My mom as well. Like they were friends with the Young Lords and all this other shit. So I grew up with this kind of respect for political activism and all this stuff. It was like in my DNA. So when you say Wigger, to me, Wigger is a cartoon character. I don't think we were cartoon characters. I think we were people who were really in love with the culture, and we didn't act like clowns. We weren't cartoon characters. We were people who had utmost respect for the culture, and were trying to trying to find out more about the culture. Like we were very open-minded to a lot of shit, and I wanted to listen. I didn't think I needed to talk so much back then. I wanted to learn about it, and I learned from people like the Jazzy J's of the world, or the Red Alerts of the world, or the Chuck D's of the world, or really Jam Master Jay and DMC, who became my friends when I was very young, and I used to play ball with Jay. And they put me up on Grandmaster Cass and Cold Crush. I only knew punk rock rap, but they they gave me tapes, and Jay did, and he played music for me. So Wigger is a weird one. I kind of avoid that word, but I say we're early adapters is how I will put it.
Right. Well, I think you're thinking more of what the word evolved to be. You know what I mean? But if you think about what it initially meant, it just meant any white person that fucked with black culture. You know what I mean?
I mean, was there like a white mic in your neighborhood? Because I feel like there's a white mic in everyone's neighborhood.
I definitely listen. We had this kid named Beef. Okay. Beef wore mock necks and Swedish mitts and fucking played basketball in the projects. Only white dude purposely, like, that's all where he played at. Like, he's going over the hill to play ball, and he was nice. Like he was, but nobody called him a wigger per se.
Right.
If somebody, once that term came out, looked at him, that's exactly what they would have called him.
I get it.
And Beef could fight. His name was Beef.
Yeah. So he's not a punk.
Like, I got other white dudes I knew from New Rochelle, like my man, this white kid Daz. He break dance and graffiti and all of this. And this is like around the time that you're probably doing all of this type of shit. Like, that type of shit was happening.
You know what's weird to me? Like when I think about that time period. So there, New York had Guidos, like real live Guidos, right? And real live Guido motherfuckers they try to fuck with you because you dress like that. But black dudes are always pretty, especially back then, and in the circles we were running in with like the Ramalzis and Freddies and meeting Jay and Red and all these people, they were always like, I never really got a lot of pushback. Dudes didn't really bother me. Like no one was ever like, I can't say dismissive, or it was a pretty open-minded kind of thing going on. It's this cultural exchange that was happening, and I never really felt a lot of pushback. It wasn't really a thing. And even in my entire experience in the culture, very, very little pushback. And I think a lot of that comes to how you move, how you conduct yourself. If you're over the top or you're a clown, motherfucker's going to check you. But I grew up on the Lower East Side, and I always had to mind my P's and Q's. We had checks and balances growing up. And if you didn't adhere to checks and balances, you got the shit beat out of you. And I didn't really want to get beat up. So I always kind of, I stayed in my pocket. I'm not out of pocket too much.
There was a lot of dope being sold on the Lower East Side back in the day.
Yo, Jay, when I try to
be sold on the Lower East Side back in the day.
I mean, when I try to explain to people how I grew up, because the Beastie Boys are like middle class dudes from the West Village and Uptown, Upper West Side. Where I grew up is fucked up. And I was, my mom's a teacher. I was in an academically advanced program. So they sent me to the West Side. Me and a bunch of crazy Puerto Rican kids, basically. We all got past this test. So they sent like 20 kids from my neighborhood to the nice school, right? The academically accelerated school. And in like a week, dudes were like shaking everyone down. Like my boys just running the whole school. It was a whole different thing. In my neighborhood, I always think that other than Harlem, the worst neighborhood in Manhattan was the Lower East Side. It was a fucking wild ass neighborhood to grow up in, but amazing. And I think it prepared me for my future career. Because when I was a kid, I grew up hearing records at block parties like Bra and Funky Drummer and Joyous by Pleasure and Just Begun and Apache. So I knew these records already. They're records that I grew up surrounded by. So when this becomes, a thing and rap becomes a thing, I'm already acclimated to the soundtrack. I already understand it because these records are records I loved as a kid. So I had a lot of
How do you become an A&R though?
So here's how you become an A&R.
Right.
You become an A&R by going out.
How did you become an A&R?
Right. So I went out 6 nights a week. Right. I went to every night.
Many of us used to do.
Right. I go out every single night. in every spot, Latin Quarters. I go to Union Square. The World was kind of popping. Red Parrot was popping. Rooftop, I made it up there a few times, which was a crazy ass place.
Peace, Heck Nine. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I was up there like trying to check it all out and at the Quarter a lot. And I worked at Rush. I was a messenger. And I was
Now, how'd you get a job at Rush?
Beastie Boys. They plugged me in. Ricky Powell goes on the road. He's the office messenger. I get
that's the initial. That's the initial in right there. That a lot of people, you know,
and
sometimes
so
it's who you know. Like, you know what I mean?
100%, 1,000,000%. And Russell liked me. He wanted, you know, we hung out with Russell, and he was hanging out in all the white trendy clubs. And then he would bring us to like the crazy place, the Fever or whatever. Right? I've been to the Fever way back, and that's definitely how I got plugged in by those guys. And I knew music because I go out every night and we live in real time. So the way you found about music back then was the mix show and go into the nightclub. You heard the record in the mix show, nightclub. These are the records. This is how it works. And I always knew what record was popping. And it usually pops in the nightclub and maybe on the mix show before it becomes a hit. So I was the one telling Russell and them, yo, BDP, yo, they're taking shots at you boys. Just know that. And South Bronx, that's going to be the joint. Like, watch out, you know? And I'm like, yeah, Marley, these dudes, Juice Crew, they're going for your neck. Like, it's going to happen, right? Because Run DMC and the Beastie Boys LL are up here, but then the golden age is starting to bubble. And I'm right there. I remember the first time I hear Rakim, when I hear Eric B. is president in 1987. I remember hearing Ego. I heard Ego Trip. I want to say at Union Square, 1986, and it is the wildest, craziest record I ever heard in my life. I never heard drums like that before. And, you know, my ears are open, and I see that Run DMC is super cool, but there's a whole other wave about to happen. And that wave is more age adjacent to me. So I'm a little younger than these dudes. So I'm waving the flag for the new shit, right? And that's how I get to be an A&R, because the flag I'm waving for the new shit, I'm right. And they start to see I'm 6 months ahead of motherfuckers, right? And 6 months in those times is like dog years today, because things move so fast in that one pocket, 86, 87, 88. It's like it goes from Run DMC to De La Soul in 2 years, right? So I was in the mix and people liked me. Daddy-O, I was a road manager for Eric B. and Rakim. I won on the road to Beasties. I rapped like I tell you.
You was a road manager for Eric B. and Rakim?
Yeah, I was like the fill-in road manager for them. Yeah, which was cool. And I took them at Russell and Leor's behest to LA when they did their deal with Universal. And we were going back and forth between WBR, Warner Brothers, and Universal. I had to shuttle them back and forth. That's why I'm friends with Rakim to this day, because I've known him since then. And he was Rakim is a basketball fanatic like me. We watch basketball. So I took him to England one time, all this shit. Anyway, so I knew music. Daddy-O was my man. He told me that Tommy Boy was trying to give him an A&R job, but he wasn't going to take it. But he told them they should talk to me. So Daddy-O threw me the assist.
Really?
Daddy-O threw me the assist. Daddy-O was my man. Daddy-O, Chuck D, it's a couple others. Red Alert, people who just took a shine to me when I was a youngster. I had a lot of energy. I was always out. And I think my enthusiasm for the culture made them like me. You know what I mean? I remember when I first met Chuck D, I could not believe he wasn't 6'10". I was taller than him. It blew my mind. And I had the tape before it came out, like a long time before it came out. I knew all the words. I was asking all these questions. So, you know, look, an A&R guy is really just a music fan, right? And I believe that if you love someone's music, you should probably tell them. Don't be a creep about it. Don't be like, you're my favorite group ever. Let's, but I really dig your shit, right? You're incredible. So I always kind of give people their props. And I think that helped a lot. And Daddy-O lined me up for the job. When I interviewed, they played me De La Soul. They played me the demo. Monica asked me if I knew Prince Paul. I said I did. And she said, okay, we're going to schedule another interview. She interviewed me right before Christmas, and she gave me a job. She gave me the job. And
they
she told
played you De La Soul to see what?
what you were going to say about it, if you liked it or not? Or
yeah, I think that was it. They were trying to sign it already, and what people don't know is that there was a baby bidding war between Profile Records and Tommy Boy, and they hadn't done the deal yet. So they played me Plug Tuning, and I thought it was I thought it was incredible, and it was basically the demo was the record, and I was already digging.
I remember the first time I heard "No Potholes in My Lawn." That's the first shit I heard.
Plug Tuning bugged me out. I knew the sample. It's Eric Burden and War. My pops had that record, Magic Mountain, and I was like, oh shit, they used that shit. It was super cool to me, and it reminded me, and I told Monica, she always remembers this too. I said, yo, it sounds like Slick Rick and Ultramagnetic had a baby. And I don't know why. I think because it was so weird. It was like Ultra, because they were like having fun, and Slick Rick had fun on his records, right? His shit was like witty and funny and playful. So it reminded me of Slick Rick a little bit. And then she interviewed me right before Christmas.
Ultramagnetic quirkiness.
Yeah, exactly. Ultramagnetic, the most slept on group ever, in my opinion. They started all the shit. So she gave me the job right before Christmas. She called me in and told me,
this is that Tommy Boy.
Yeah, she was like, hey, so, you know, like, you got the gig. Merry Christmas. Here's your first group is De La Soul. And I started, I think, January after the Christmas holiday of that year.
Wow.
Yeah, and from there, you know, De La was my first thing. I had that's pretty funny. I had the relationship with Red Alert. I sent him Plug Tuning. He told me he was going to play it. And I thought that meant he played in a couple of weeks or days, and he played it that day. And I was like, oh my God. So I was like the good luck charm. Latifah falls in my lap. I was at the quarters. 45 King came up to me and knew who I was, which was super weird. And also at the Latin quarters, like he didn't look like everyone in the Latin quarters. Latin quarters is super thugged out, and he wasn't thugged out. And I was like playing the back because I think he went to the quarters. You know how crazy that fucking place was. I was blessed.
I used to be up in that motherfucker.
Yeah, I was blessed. I didn't have any money. Like I didn't have any money to wear anything.
I used to be everywhere.
I mean,
I used to be places that you wouldn't even think of going. Trust me. Like,
yeah, like this.
I'm sure I remember your line stopped at a certain point. Like,
yeah.
I didn't go higher than the quarters.
Right.
Now,
or
once it gets to Broadway RT and all that,
right,
and
exactly.
the rooftop and all that type of shit.
The rooftop is as far as I go. I don't go past the rooftop. I only go when I'm with people. I went the rooftop 3 times in my life, and every time I went with people. And it seemed like why every time I was there, Rob Bass seemed to be performing. Why is this?
Yeah, that feels like a little later and shit.
It was at the end of the rooftop. It was the end.
I was going in prime rooftop. Dougie
it was
Fresh.
I saw Doug there. I saw Doug Rock there.
Shit like that.
Who was the kid who never made a record who was rocking out there too? There was someone else. I'm forgetting his name. I went to Zodiac one time. That was super scary. Smelled like angel dust. It was with De La Soul. We did a show there.
I've been speaking of angel. I've been to the original Fever on Jerome Avenue.
I went there. I went to original Fever,
Webster.
But I went with Russell and a bunch of people, so it was, we were safe. But and I knew Sal forever. But yeah, the Fever was that was the.
I'm just going as a kid, just
I went there. I went there VIP because we went in the car with Russell and everything. It was like a thing. I think Rick might have been with us too. It was, and I never went to the Castle or any of those places up in the Bronx. That shit was always too, being from downtown. I would go to Brooklyn. I went to high school in Brooklyn, but the Bronx is like, it's another thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the Bronx was like. The Bronx had me shook. I'm not fucking around with the Bronx as a kid.